If your kitchen cabinets and drawers could use a little help, then stay tuned for 3 easy DIY wood organizers to make your storage a little bit better. It's Mindy, and let's get started. This first organizer is for the sink cabinet, which I think is the hardest to organize. You can see I had some small baskets in mine, but because of the water filter system we have, there isn't a lot of depth to work with. So when I saw Anna White make a shelf for her kitchen cabinet, I knew I had to try it to maximize the vertical space. All you'll need to do is measure the height, width, which for this I stopped just before the disposal, and depth just to the pipes. And for the shelf height, you'll want to measure the tallest bottle of whatever you store in your cabinet. You could use wood boards that work with the depth, but I had some plywood from the craft table that I recently built in my garage, so I cut those to size on my table saw. I made pocket holes in the shelf board and I attached it to the side pieces at the height of that bottle I measured. So as you can see, this is a super simple shelf and you could stop here, but I added plywood to the back to cover everything up and hide everything in the back of the cabinet. With the shelf in place, everything we use frequently is within reach, and there is still a little room behind the shelf to store extras. So next, this drawer organizer is super simple to make using thin strips of plywood. So you'll want to start by emptying the entire drawer and then place the items back in while creating sections. And you want to set this up the way that you want it to be when you're done. Once you have your sections, measure for each one, making sure to account for the thickness of the wood that you use. I used 1/4 inch plywood that I had on hand, but you can find 1/4 inch hobby boards at the hardware store. And to attach the pieces for the drawer organizer, I just used wood glue and let it dry overnight. To make my assembly a bit easier, I don't know if you can see, but I placed the pieces in the drawer and then marked the attachment points with a pencil. And I don't know why I waited so long to do this, but it's much better than using the single organizer bins that don't quite fit the entire drawer. The third and final organizer is for my cooking pans. I did make a baking pan organizer way back when, so I'll link to that if you're interested. But for this cabinet, I wanted a solution to stacking the pans, and I didn't want to add a drawer. So I decided to add a custom shelf with dividers for each pot. I cut all of these pieces from one 1x8 wood board, and I'll have the measurements for these in the description. And here's how my shelf will come together, with spaces for my smaller pots and a lower extended shelf to extend the storage across the cabinet. Once again, I attached everything with pocket holes, and yes, I am working on the kitchen counter because the garage has been way too cold. This is also a very simple shelf, so I'll just let you watch my process. I know this may not work for everyone's kitchen, especially if you have lots of pots and pans, but I like to keep it minimal, and this is all we really need for cooking. Go ahead and like this video if you found it helpful. Don't forget to check the description box for the measurements and links to other DIY organizers that I've made. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.